Analyzing Npv results. 111. Place your cursor on B26 to start analyzing results on the most important output of the model, the one that summarizes the integral profitability of the project, Npv. 112. Click on the Browse Results button. On average, this project generates positive results of $61.4 million. If decisions were to be made based on averages, the decision would be to proceed on this project. However, the range of possible results goes from a minimum of -$90 million to a maximum of $280 million. 113. Drag your left vertical delimiter on top of 0 to calculate the probability of a negative outcome, or simply write a 0 on top of the bar. There exists a 7.2% probability of a negative Npv given the underlying assumptions and, especially, given a range of initial oil prices between $45 to $65, with a most likely scenario of $55. According to the company's risk appetite, 7.2% probability of earning a negative Npv could be deemed acceptable or not. This is all a subjective matter dependent on many factors beyond this module's scope. Briefly, sensitivity analysis focuses on determining which key input variables have the largest impact upon output variables. You can do this in at-risk through tornado charts. A tornado chart is a special type of bar chart, where the data categories are listed vertically and categories are ordered so that the largest bar appears at the top of the chart, the second largest appears second from the top, and so on. The final chart visually resembles either one half of or a complete tornado. They are useful for comparing the relative importance of variables. At this point, we have created a model with 192 input variables that contain a at-risk function and will change their values during a simulation. They consist on production and declining rates per year, operating and overhead costs, quantity of wells to drill and their respective CAPEX and prices for 20 years. 114. Click on the tornado icon of the chart and select the first type of tornado, change in output mean. Observe the nature of the multiple bars shown here. Production variables show on top. There is also presence of prices and drilling investment variables for the 10 variables showed here. This tornado is hard to read. By default, at-risk will only show those top variables that have the largest effect upon Npv in this case. However, we do not want to show necessarily the individual effect of each annual production, for example, as a separate bar and its effect upon Npv. Alternatively, it would be nice to show the whole integral effect generated by production as a single synthesized effect. We would like to see all annual production inputs, for example, consolidated as a single bar on the tornado chart, summarizing the individual effects of it upon Npv. This is where the Riskmakeinput function comes in handy. The Riskmakeinput function specifies that the calculated value for formula will be treated as a simulation input, the same way as a distribution function. This function allows the results of Excel calculations to be treated as a single input in a tornado graph. The distributions that feed into a Riskmakeinput are not included in a sensitivity analysis of the outputs they impact. The respective individual distributions for production, expenses, investments and prices are excluded of the tornado chart creation individually. This avoids double counting of their impacts. Only the summarized Riskmakeinput functions will be considered as inputs on tornado charts. 115. Place your cursor on V14 in order to declare this summarizing production variable as a synthesized MAD input. 116. Go to Insert Function, Other Functions, Miscellaneous and Riskmakeinput function within at-risks ribbon. 117. Just click to OK to accept this syntax. The function should now look like this. Equals Riskmakeinput sum B14:U14. 118. Go to Insert Function, Other Functions, Property and Risk Name function within at-risks ribbon. 119. Change the risk name argument value to a reference to A14, where the text for the name of this variable is located. This optional property clause replaces the automatically defined name by at-risk by whatever text is settled in here. Thus, the function on cell V14 should now look like this. Equals Riskmakeinput sum B14:U14, risk name A14. 120. Copy this summarizing function and paste it for the rest of the other variables that also need to be synthetically made as inputs. V15 as unit price, V16 as drilling investment, V18 as operating expense, V19 as property royalties and V20 as corporate overhead allocation. Notice that all of these functions work well as sums except for price. An average price, as opposed to the sum of all prices, makes more sense as a summarizing cell. It does not matter, however, too much from a Riskmakeinput point of view. As long as you have a cell that considers all previous cells, regardless of its arithmetic on its calculation, they will be considered for integrative purposes. 121. Edit cell V15 and change sum for average. The new function should now look like this. Equals Riskmakeinput average B15:U15, risk name A15.